biblical message. Why Pope Francis says Christmas is an invitation to receive joy. Busy schedule. A preview of how the Holy Father will spend Christmas at the Vatican. Tornado recovery. How Catholic groups are helping people in Kentucky following the deadly storms earlier this month. And Advent reflections. Preparing our hearts to receive our Savior as the celebration of his birth draws near. On EWTN News Nightly for Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. This morning at the Vatican, Pope Francis met with the Russian Orthodox Metropolitan Hilarion Al-Fayed. The two met before the Holy Father's weekly talk to pilgrims at the Vatican. The nearly one-hour discussion included an exchange of gifts. There are roughly 150 million members of the Russian Orthodox Church around the world. That accounts for half of Orthodox Christians. Joining us now from Rome is Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. Andreas, so good to see you. So what more can you tell us about this meeting between the Holy Father and Metropolitan Hilarion?
The Holy Father, Tracy, met with Metropolitan Hilarion for almost an hour today. This was not the first meeting between them, but testifies to the gradual improvement of the relationship between the Catholic and the Russian Orthodox Church. Metropolitan Hilarion is responsible for the foreign relations of his church. And Vatican observers, like our own Catholic news agency, interpret this as a sign for possible second meeting between Pope Francis and Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, which could even take place here in Rome. They met in Havana in 2016, which was the first time ever a Russian patriarch met with a pope. For his part, the Holy Father today expressed closeness to the Russian Church and to Patriarch Kirill, recalling with gratitude the path of fraternity made together after their first encounter. After the meeting, the Metropolitan confirmed that the conversation touched on the issue of a second meeting, but did not disclose a place or time when this would be happening.
And Andreas, switching gears here just a bit, Christmas is just a few days away, and we know the Holy Father is always busy around this time of year. Can you give us maybe a preview of what he'll be doing and how he'll be celebrating?
Sure, absolutely. So tomorrow morning already, Pope Francis will meet with the Roman Curia and later with employees of the Holy See, and these two traditional meetings open the days of celebrations for the Holy Father. As every year, the first major celebration will of course be on Friday, December 24th in the evening, when Pope Francis will celebrate Christmas Eve in St. Peter's Basilica. On Saturday, December 25th, the Pontiff will address from the external loggia of the Vatican Basilica the faithful on St. Peter's Square and read his Christmas message and give the traditional Urbi et Orbi blessing. On Sunday, which will also mark the day of St. Stephen, the first Christian martyr, the Pope will hold the Angelus prayer as he usually does on a Sunday.
And Andreas, speaking of Christmas, I know this is your first Christmas in Rome as EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. I'm wondering what you are looking most forward to.
Well, Tracy, of course, I'm looking forward to the Christmas celebrations here, and I hope that our viewers will experience them with us together on our live streams on television as well as online, whether on EWTN's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube channels. From the heart of the Church, I wish you, Tracy, our News Nightly team, and all our dear viewers a very blessed Christmas.
And Andreas, the same to you and your family and everyone there at our Vatican Bureau. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you.
And today, at his weekly talk to pilgrims, the Holy Father calls Christmas an invitation to adore the Son of God.
Il lavoro nostro è non spegnere quelle inquietudini, lasciarla crescere.
At his talk at the Vatican, the Holy Father reflected on the birth of Jesus, saying that it is an event that history cannot deny nor ignore. Pope Francis also underlined that Jesus is the name and the face of the divine love. He also is, quote, the foundation of our joy. Well, doctors in Germany may soon be able to advertise that they perform abortions. Currently, the country has a ban on such advertisements. However, the three parties that form Germany's new government have long opposed that measure and say that they will introduce legislation next month to reverse it. Well, here in the United States, before leaving Washington, the U.S. Senate passed a defense policy bill for next year. It includes military justice reform and handling of sexual assault cases. Some Republicans tell EWTN News Nightly that they are happy about what's not in it.
I was pleased the Democrats finally dropped their demand to try and expand the draft to focus on women and conscript our sisters and daughters and wives and against their will. I thought that was something that A, is not needed. They never could come up with a rationale for it, and also the American people don't want.
The $770 billion bill includes a pay raise for military personnel. It also sets up a commission to investigate the Afghanistan war and U.S. military withdrawal. Well, as we have been reporting, the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan is becoming more and more dire. And now that the winter season is here, about 1 million people, many of them Christians, face starvation and possible death from exposure to freezing temperatures. The Catholic nonprofit organization, the Vulnerable People Project, just launched a new initiative called Coal for Christmas. It aims to help families in Afghanistan stay warm as they await an opportunity to flee the Taliban-controlled country. And joining us now to discuss this, as well as his experience in Afghanistan, is Prince Wafa, former U.S. Army translator and Afghan Winter Manager for the Vulnerable People Project. Prince, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I want to talk about the Coal for Christmas project, but first, I want to talk about what led you to get involved with it and also your situation in Afghanistan.
Thank you so much for having me today here. If we go back for my involvement with the Vulnerable People Project, back when I was stuck in Afghanistan because of the problems we had there. So a friend of mine, a previous supervisor from the military named Jared Wendell, he's a lieutenant colonel in National Guard. He saw Jason Jensen, the founder of this campaign, and he saw him on the TV there on your show. So thank you so much for that. And through that show, he contacted him, and we got contacted with the Jason Jensen with this Vulnerable People Project in Afghanistan. So when I was there, the situation was like unexpected, like everybody knows that, and being stuck there, not having enough financial help, nothing basically. The banks were closed. There was no financial institution running to be able to transfer money there. So Jason contacted me directly, and then they were able to send me financial help, like send me some money to be able to run my phone and then get contact with the government through that to be able to evacuate from Afghanistan.
No, that's so wonderful that you were able to get that help, and we're so happy to see that you're back home in the U.S. I want to go back during that time again, seeing the Taliban take over the country and then that chaotic U.S. withdrawal, and resulting in a number of people left behind, including yourself at the time. What went through your mind? What were you thinking during that time?
Well, during the time, everything was out of control. There was like miles of people waiting on the airport. There was no way you could get close to the gate. As someone like me and so many others like me that we served the U.S. military alongside, fight the people that they were on the ground and controlling. It was a very risky time for us to go and show as our passport, like, hey, we are U.S. citizens. We're trying to go to the airport. Everything was out of control. We didn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There was no money left for any of us here to spend and then be prepared for that. So everything was I call it a chaos, but thank God and thanks everybody who was involved in this project and there's so many other projects like that, like Jason and the Vulnerable People Project, that helping people get out of Afghanistan, the people that they're eligible to come home, and the people that are in direct danger, and especially our veterans, allies, and also our U.S. citizens back there.
Yeah, so many people doing such great work to help those in Afghanistan, including yourself. But, you know, as we mentioned before, there's so many people there that are still suffering. Can you talk to us more about that, and also why this Coal for Christmas initiative is really so important?
Well, when I went to Afghanistan, I had one mission: to bring my wife home. And when I went there and I witnessed a lot of stuff in my eyes. Now I have a different mission to help people too. The same way I was desperately looking for help, and I got help from this project. Now I feel like I have a responsibility to help others the same way that I was getting help. So not even being more than like a day, like a month in US. I came here on December 1st. Now we're able to help more than 3,000 people alongside with, with the help of the Vulnerable People Project. The people in Afghanistan, they're in very, very urgent, need of help. People selling their kids. They sell their kidneys for less than $2,000-3,000 to be able to feed their families. They're like most of those people, they helped with the U.S. government. They helped the government, the previous government there, and now they don't have a job, and they are just basically on the streets. This mission, this time will definitely help so many people to be able to survive. This is a life-saving mission that I feel we're responsible. I am responsible as a human being and as someone that received the help from Vulnerable People Project in Afghanistan. No, that's my responsibility, I think, to help others as much as I can and trying to raise their voice to everybody that if they can, please step in and help this campaign, help to bring some warm clothes to kids in Afghanistan and bring at least the minimum stuff that they can eat. Like, for example, with $100 or less, they can feed a family of 5 for over a month.
And Prince, we probably have less than 30 seconds or so left, but really quickly, tell us how we can help.
If anyone hearing me there, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. We have a campaign going on right now, thegreatcampaign.org. This is the website. You can donate anything. Like you may not think your $5 or less than a $5, you can feed a family for 2 days. The kids, the women, and the men, they can get fed for 2 days for only $5. And so on, is starting from that. Like with $2.50, you can feed a family of 5 for like almost the whole winter. The clothing, the coal, the boots, fire, and anything. So if you guys can please help us during this project to be able to directly contact the real people, the real needy people in Afghanistan from the help of this project, that will be greatly appreciated.
Well, Prince, thank you for all that you're doing, and everyone at the Vulnerable People Project. And again, we are so happy and grateful that you're back home again. Thank you again, Prince.
Thanks so much for having me here. Thank you.
Coming up, Catholic outreach to the victims of the deadly tornado in Kentucky. The Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston is mourning the death of Bishop Emeritus George Sheltz. Bishop Sheltz had served as his home diocese for more than 50 years as a priest, administrator, and auxiliary bishop. At his retirement earlier this year, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo praised him as his calm and insightful manner and dry sense of humor. Bishop Sheltz died last night at the age of 75. Well, Kentucky is currently undergoing recovery efforts following the deadly and destructive tornado outbreak that ripped through a number of states earlier this month, killing at least 75 people in Kentucky alone. And join me now is Susan Montalvo Gresser, Director of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Owensboro in Kentucky. Susan, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Can you talk to us about what you're seeing there, how it's impacted the people of your state, and what the needs are right now?
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, it has had a very destructive impact over about 200 miles of our diocese. We have many communities that have been affected. And it's been really hard to see the devastation. But the good thing that is coming out of it is seeing all of the love of the communities and of the surrounding communities around Kentucky and around the United States that have come to our aid.
That is wonderful. And I know oftentimes in times like these, you really see the best come out in people. What is Catholic Charities doing specifically to help those in need?
So a lot of what we're doing right now is immediate assistance. We have a few staging areas in different communities in our diocese. So right now I'm in between going from Mayfield, Kentucky, with one of our sites there, to Dawson Springs, Kentucky. And there we have distribution sites set up to attend to people's immediate needs for water, for food, for blankets, for generators and those types of things, and also for gift cards and things that they can use at local stores to rebuild their lives and to take care of themselves. The next phase we'll get into is with rebuilding their lives and their homes with long-term planning and case management.
And I was going to say, you know, it's just so awful and tragic for this to happen any time of the year, but especially right before Christmas. Can you talk to us more about that and how you're helping with those needs as well?
Yes. So that actually what I was doing in Mayfield is we were delivering a bunch of toys that we've had donated from all over the United States. And I guess it's tomorrow night in Mayfield, we're going to have some of our volunteers go out after Posadas and distribute toys all around Mayfield to the kids who kind of lost their Christmas. The next stop that I have is to Dawson Springs, where they're going to be having Mass, Christmas Eve Mass, in an outbuilding of one of the deacons' neighbors. So almost like a metal barn, if you can imagine, because their parish was destroyed in the tornado. So we're going to deliver some toys and presents that the bishop can hand out tomorrow on Christmas Eve Mass at their makeshift church in a barn, which is almost reminiscent of the first nativity.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, Susan, for those who want to help, and I know there are a lot of people out there that want to, how can they do so?
So the best thing to do is you can go on our website, owensborodiocese.org, and you can contribute there for tornado relief, or you can send a check into the diocese, 600 Locust Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, 42301. And we'd really like to see not just monetary donations, but donations of gift cards. Because people can really use those locally, and we can help the local economy and help them rebuild, and they can get the items that they need.
Well, Susan, thank you so much. We know that you're very busy right now, so we're going to let you go. But thank you for all that you do, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you all as well.
Up next, a reflection on the true meaning of Advent and Christmas. A giant statue of the baby Jesus has returned for its annual Christmas display near Mexico City. Catholic faithful in the suburb of Iztapalapa are welcoming the return of their treasured figurine. It was not brought out last year due to coronavirus restrictions. It represents hope this year for the craftsmen whose family's matriarch died during the pandemic. Preparations are also underway for Christmas in St. Petersburg, Russia. People dressed like Santa Claus perform music on one of the city's main streets. Russia celebrates Christmas on January 7th. That is according to the Orthodox Julian calendar. Well, we have a few more nativity scenes that we would love to share with you all tonight. We start now with Jim Shearer in Clarks, Nebraska. A very unique nativity right here. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Next, we go to Bruce and Kathy Faye. It is from Italy, they say, and it has been displayed at their family's home for many, many years. It is gorgeous. And this next one comes to us from Annapolis, Maryland. Virginia Lamb shows us one that she and her late husband found while they were on a pilgrimage in Montreal, Canada. And finally, a new constructed nativity at the cathedral in Bismarck, North Dakota. The cathedral's Knights helped to complete it. It is fantastic. The Knights Council's Grand Knight, John Bergsma, says it all came together with the help from the current rector, Father Joshua Eli. That is amazing. And thank you all so much for sending those in. We appreciate it. One question the faithful may have with Christmas falling on a Saturday this year is, what is our obligation regarding Mass? Well, the Church says that we should attend on both Christmas Day and the following day, a Sunday. One Mass on Christmas afternoon will not fulfill both obligations, so please keep that in mind. And for more on the story, including what the Church says about Mass on Christmas Eve, make sure you visit our partners at CatholicNewsAgency.com. And finally tonight, we are in the final days of the Advent season as the faithful await the birth of Christ. We can use the final days of the Advent season to prepare our hearts and our minds for the Lord. Recently, we caught up with an expert on Advent and preparing for Christmas. And joining me now is Dr. John Bergsma, professor of theology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. Dr. Bergsma, thank you so much for your time today. It's great to see you. Can you talk to us about the meaning of Advent and also how we can use these last few days of the season to really, truly prepare ourselves for the birth of Christ?
Oh, absolutely. So Advent comes from two Latin words, adventus, which means to come to. And so it's a time of our preparation for Jesus to come to us. And that's why St. John the Baptist figures so prominently in the Mass readings for this time of year, because he was the forerunner of Jesus who went to prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah. So we just have a few more days before Christmas to prepare our hearts. Remember when St. John the Baptist talks about the valleys being made low, or I should say the valleys being raised up and the hills being brought low. He's talking about the condition of our heart, that if we're in despair and we think that we're too far from the Lord or too sinful for salvation, we need to be encouraged and raised up. That's like a valley. And if we're proud and think that we're not in need of the salvation of the Lord, we have to be humbled in different ways. So this is a time of making that way for the Lord in our hearts. And, we can do that by working on a virtue during these last couple of days. Maybe we want to work on the virtue of cheerfulness. And so each day we make a little resolution to say, maybe compliment a family member or share a smile with someone. And you can even make a concrete act like take a piece of straw or a piece of yarn, and each day as we approach the coming of Christmas, when you've made that little act of virtue during the day, then that gives you permission to add that piece of straw into that manger. And you can do that with the rest of your family members and try to fill that manger with little signs of these acts of virtue that you've been working on these coming days.
I love that. Do you have any other tips maybe to help us keep in mind the meaning of Advent and other things that we can do?
Oh, absolutely. Meditation on Scripture is so important. We have such wonderful readings in Mass and in daily Mass. Maybe folks can make a resolution to go to daily Mass on the days leading up to Christmas, where we hear these wonderful prophecies from the Old Testament and reflect on how they're going to be fulfilled. Folks can take advantage of the dialogues that Dr. Scott Hahn and I have been doing on the Sunday Mass readings of Advent leading up to Christmas, and those are available at the St. Paul Center website. And those are wonderful opportunities to reflect on God's Word. And for me, too, an Advent wreath in the home is a non-negotiable. That simply must be there. And we as a family love to just practice each night lighting the Advent wreath, and then learning a new Advent hymn each week. We pick a hymn for each week. We sing it every night when we light the Advent wreath, and then have some family prayers. And that's a wonderful practice as a family of keeping the season alive and keeping the approach of Christmas before our eyes.
And before I let you go, really quickly, I understand you published a new volume of the Word of the Lord. How can that book help those who are really looking to dive deeper into the Scriptures?
Sure. Well, we all know there's lots of resources out there to help with understanding the Mass readings, but oftentimes, they're short, 5 minutes, a couple of paragraphs, a couple of pages. In this series called The Word of the Lord that we're publishing from the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology, our Emmaus Road publishers, again, I've written these volumes, and we take 10, 12 pages, and we just really go in depth on the first reading, the Psalm, the Epistle, the Gospel reading. So if you sometimes leave Mass wondering, like, why did we even read that? What was going on with that reading from Baruch or Jeremiah in the first reading? What was happening there? This book really is for you, because I go into depth on that, give the historical background for these Old Testament readings, as well as the New Testament readings of the Gospel, show how they all interlink, and offer some suggestions that we can take to our prayer on that particular Sunday as we try to receive what Holy Mother Church and what God our Father are trying to tell us in this season of the year.
Well, Dr. Bergsma, thank you so much for speaking with us today. It was great talking with you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be on with you.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night, and God bless.